Welcome back, my peeps! Are you ready to get back onto this van build? Because I sure am. She runs. That's a good start. Friends, that's pretty much how the shop's gonna be run from this point forward. Now let's hope we can start getting consistent and finish this van off, because it is absolutely packed with crap. Look at this. As we move the shop, we had no choice but to pile everything into the back of the van we're building. But we're not gonna bore you with those details. Van is cleaned out and it's time to start putting plumbing and our tanks into these parts here and run into the shower and where our sink's gonna be. So I'll just show you that our shop is all set up, and let's get straight to the plumbing. So we have two freshwater tanks, one that runs the shower, one that is for all our drinking water and so on. I've got it laid out here where we're gonna have our two tanks joined together so that they can stay the same level. You don't want one tank being full, the other tank being empty. It's gonna throw the balance of your van off. Now, we will share a list of all the products down below, so you can click on them, go check them out, potentially even buy them yourself. But a quick little rundown is, we are running for freshwater tanks, two 20-gallon water tanks. We have a shut-off valve. That way we're able to shut the water off in case we have a problem. Then we have this T. This is so that I can run a separate line off and have a blowout area so that we can winterize the vent. I don't like using RV antifreeze, especially my drinking water. We then have our inline strainer, which is our pre-pump filter. Then we have our SHURFLO 4008 3-gallon per minute pump and an accumulator tank, which just helps keep the pressure strong from the pump all the way to your taps. Oh, and of course, don't forget about our Pex. We're using blue for cold, red for hot. We have our pipe to fill, all of our clamps. And once again, all the fittings, all the strapping, tanks, everything, all be listed down below, just in case I forgot to mention anything, and you can check it out yourself. Now, of course, as you guys know, we've already hooked up our full heating system, which, we can't see nothing. I gotta get some lights in this place. That's the next setup. We've already hooked up our full water heating system, and you can go check out that video right up over here, or maybe over here. I don't know what side it is anymore. So we gotta take this row of parts right here and fit them onto the passenger side of the van, which will run our sink. Then we take this string of parts right here, which will go on the driver's side of the van that runs our shower. But lucky for you guys, I'm the only one staying up to the wee hours of the morning doing it twice, because on video we'll stick to the daylight hours so you guys can see better. And honestly, once I do this one here on the camera, the other one is exactly the same. So first things first is the base where the actual water tank is going to sit on. Now, although it could sit on there, I want a solid base, just so as the tank sits down, it's got even pressure across the whole bottom side. So we've cut this board out with all our little cutouts and notches to fit into place. We'll use our PL adhesive that we've used to attach all of our wood products to our aluminum. And now we paint it all using our alkyd enamel paint. So while that dries, we're gonna do some pre-assembly on our pump and accumulator tank. Pull our pump out, which is just a simple 2-wire connection, red and black, positive and negative. It comes with the 2 1/2-inch adapters. As well, we got our SHURFLO Accumulator tank, which is this piece right here. It also comes with the fitting so that we can mount the accumulator and the pump together. Inside of there, it's got a tapered end, so you just thread it on, no sealant needed. Just remember to only go finger tight, and boom, our pump and accumulator tank are now mounted. Then all we have to do is install our preheater right here. And that is gonna mount directly to the incoming to the pump. That way the pre-filter filters the water before it gets to your pump. So you're not wrecking your impeller, just stopping any stuff that might get in your tank from going into your pump. There's an arrow, make sure the accumulator is on the outgoing, and make sure our new filter is on the incoming. You'll see the filter also has an arrow, but the ends are different, so it's pretty hard to mess that one up. Now we take those ends that came with the pump, and one goes on the end of the accumulator, like that. And one goes on the end of the pre-filter. Now we have our full pumping system that's ready to go in the van. But guess what? It's dark out again. Unfortunately, I have no choice. These are the hours I have to put in if we want to get this van built. Let me turn my lights on. Let's grab our plug and let's plug it in. Bang! Let there be light. And we're ready to rock. So in this back corner behind the wheel wells, underneath our what's going to be our U-shaped dinette is where our fresh water tank on both sides are going to be. But before we mount this in, we need to mount our pump and accumulator up against this wall. And you'll see they both have rubber feet on them. That way from the vibrations, it's not going to send it through the vehicle. And all of our panels are glued and screwed right to the van. And it's 3/8 plywood. We can mount absolutely anywhere to this, and we know it's strong enough. The only thing is that you'll notice when the pump and accumulator go up against the wall, for some reason, although they're both SHURFLO, the accumulator does not match up with the wall the same as the pump does. So using some plywood, anti-vibration matting, we made a riser that makes the pump and the accumulator be able to sit at the right level. And as easy as 6 screws into plywood, it's fully assembled on the wall, ready to be plumbed with hose. But off of your pump and your accumulator, you cannot just run standard PEX line like this. Because they vibrate and move as they pump, your PEX can actually end up cracked. So from the tank to the pump and accumulator to the first set of PEX line, we're going to use this braided 1/2 inch hose. It's 1/2 inch ID, 3/4 inch OD, and that's what we're going to use to mount the pump to the tank and the accumulator to the first mounted PEX line. But it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I ran out of hose clamps to be able to hook that up, which means this is moving to morning. Amazing how quick time flies when you're having this much fun, isn't it? So while you guys were gone, I mounted our tank in so that we were ready to run our braided hose line from this tank to that pump. Now I did not record us putting this tank in because it's the exact same as when we put our gray water tank in underneath where the sink goes, as well as our gray water tank that's underneath the shower. I'm trying to save us all some time here. With hooking up hoses, we got these clamps, 3/8 to 7/8. Slide it over top your hose, push it on, clamp it in place. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about that either, because I'm sure anybody watching this video can figure that out. And once it's all attached, it starts looking like this. You got your flexible line off the out of the tank, runs across up to the pump. You got it attached between where we showed you earlier, and it comes off the accumulator and up, in which we now attach it to our PEX lines. So, if you guys have been watching for a while, you know we installed this furnace right here. We went through all the hooking of the PEX lines, showed you how to crimp them, so on and so forth. So we're not going to do that again. But we were thinking ahead, in which we had our hot line and our cold line already pre-tapped and running out the side right here, which is so they could run to the pump, obviously. So now we're just going to attach these to the wall until it starts looking something like this. Now, we cannot leave these lines just hanging there. With PEX lines, they need to be mounted securely, so any vibrations or movement, especially from the pump and the water moving through it, it holds it secure, so you're not going to get cracks and so on. So what we used are these 5/8 cable and pipe clamps, which are insulated with rubber. And yes, this is 1/2 inch PEX, but the 1/2 inch is the ID, and the OD is actually larger than that. So the 5/8 ends up pinching over those perfectly, which is going to hold everything nice and tight up against that wall. So then we can slip this one over top of the red line. that direction and slip one over the blue line that direction, and using our number 8 by 9/16 screws, and we keep them close enough together, it actually ends up looking really clean. We get our T set in place so that our flexible line off our accumulator and pump can attach to our cold line, and all I got to do is use the hose clamp to tighten it down now. Now, to clear off a few questions that might come up is, first, why do we have a cold and a hot line going towards the back of the van? Gonna have to stick around and watch till that video comes out where we do something with those lines at the back. For now, I'm gonna cap them using these 1/2" plugs and then just crimping them in place and be done with it. Second question is, why on the red line that is coming back, which obviously is hot, why did we put a fitting in here and not just run a solid line? There is no need for this fitting. Which in one way you are correct, and that would have been my ultimate goal. But the Pex B line that we're using are these lines you can buy from the hardware store, which come in 4-foot length. The reason why I chose those is because they're already straight. We don't have to worry about it. Just plug and play. I did, on the other hand, buy some of this originally. Oh man, I'm gonna have to dig it out. It's buried. Hold on a second. This here, which is also Pex B line, but it's all rolled up into a roll. And let me tell you, getting this straight is not a fun task. You're putting it in the hot weather, you're trying to straighten it out, and you just never end up with a perfectly straight line, is what my experience has been. Unless there's a trick to it that I don't know. It was becoming a real serious pain in the butt for me, so I switched to the straight 4-foot sections, and then just decided to cut that 4-foot length to the exact same spot the blue needed to be at the T to hook to the pumps, so that all our fittings are in the exact same place. If we ever have a problem, it's one spot where the problem would be. Chances of one of these cracking, unless you froze it or something when they're all held in place and secure, is very, very, very slim. Because now I have perfectly straight lines that I didn't have to mess with. So that was my experience. But now that all our water lines are run, they're hooked into the heater, which is inside that cabinet, all we have to do is hook up power and we're ready for a test run. By the way, have you hit that like button or even that subscribe button yet? If you haven't, that'd be great if you did. No pressure, of course. And if you have already, well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hooking this pump up is pretty straightforward. We have a negative and we have a positive. Simple 12-volt connection. Now, obviously, back in our videos, we pre-ran our 12-gauge wire. And we're just gonna run it back and connect them together. What we're gonna use is in this kit right here. We are gonna go with quick connects. So you get a spale male end like that, and you get the female end like that, in which they just push together like that. And then if you ever need to repair, it's an easy disconnect so you can replace the pump without having to cut any wires. So we'll take our crimping tool and our stripping tool, and we will put the female connector on here. It doesn't actually matter what side you put it on, but just clip it in and crimp. And these are heat shrink tubes as well, so just add heat. And I just burnt the heck out of my finger. Ouch! Red to red and black to black, and then we'll secure all our lines in place using little wire clamps like these. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna say it ends up looking pretty darn clean, which means at this point I think we're ready to fire this up. Even with all this stuff, this was installed 2 years ago now, and it's never actually been tested to know if any of those lines leak. So in a couple seconds, you're gonna find out. I am gonna leave our valve in the closed position first, just so we can make sure the tank doesn't have any leaks. And here we go, we're ready to add some water. So first things first, we have water in the initial stage of our line. We're dry on that side, we're dry on the back side. Let's now open it up to the pump. And so far, we're looking to be dry. So, it's time to move to the next step. And look at that, just before I shut the camera, just as I shut the camera off, I noticed I haven't tightened either of these up yet, so if I turned that pump on, we would have had a mess. So we caught it. But without further ado, we have our 12 gauge line that says S pump, standing for shower pump. So we'll clips on it. We have a 15 amp fuse, which is recommended by the pump manufacturer, and we're ready to plug it in the battery. Typically you'd have a switch in between, but that's not us right now. So negative, negative, positive to positive, there goes the pump. Now let's hope all goes as planned. Oh no! Frick. Too much of a rush to show you guys. So where I came off of our line, right here, that we had hooked in, I never actually crimped those two lines. Easy fix, thankfully. Let's try one more time. Everything looks to be looking good, working good. Over on the pump side, no drips, no leaks. It made it to pressure, which means it's holding pressure. We look underneath here, get our light out again. I am not seeing any wetness. It's kind of hard with the camera, so I'm going to take a closer look. But let's go over here to our shower, in which we should be able to turn this on. There we go, hit the button. Boom, boom. We got water on that side. And we got water on that side. So much pressure, it kicked our thing over. Let's show you while I have it in my hand. So we just push the button, and boom. We can finally clean out the tray of this, because it's so gross with dirt. Works good. I'm not seeing any leaks anywhere at all. Everything is completely dry, top to bottom. That is really, really good news. And another telltale sign that you don't have any leaks, other than finding water all over the place, is that our pump is not kicking in at all. Which means that this side works perfectly fine. On this side, we have the freshwater tank all mounted, and pump and accumulator in place, which turns into our blue Pex line all the way down. The cold goes down under the floor, where it goes into the heater and gets hot, comes back underneath the floor and comes up red. So on this part, we have our two lines coming out, which will be for our sink, which obviously is not installed yet. And the other two lines that got teed out of there are going to this front of the van for our next video. So you better tune into that. For that reason, we can't actually run this tank on this side yet. But seriously, check out the water pressure on this thing. It's got a ton of water pressure. You'll see our shower head has 3 different settings between spray and showers. And I'll say all of them work absolutely great. That's just off the pump even. Not even adding pressure to the accumulator yet. But I think we're just out of time. That's a story for another video. Because it is now late at night again, and it's time for me to shut this shop down. So, if you want to see more stuff like that, maybe go down, hit that like, hit that subscribe, even hit that bell so you're notified the next time our videos come out. But no pressure, of course. You do you. We will see you on the next video. Perfect.